Hello, and welcome to Ending Physician Overwhelm. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Mello. I'm a family and obesity medicine physician, as well as a certified life coach for physicians. In this podcast, we talk about how the learned habits of people-pleasing, perfectionism, and a lack of boundaries show up in our lives and how they contribute to burnout, exhaustion, and overwhelm. The healthcare system is broken, my friends, but let's not wait for it to be fixed in order to feel better. January is the month where people-pleasing perfectionists really get ambushed with the new year, new you noise. I know that so many of you listening here know exactly what I'm talking about, but it doesn't take long for reality to hit us in the face. The chaos of running late in clinic, being short-staffed, prior authorizations out the door, right? There's so much that so quickly pops up. And we feel like we are the ones who are the problem, that we are missing the mark. My friends, you are not missing the mark. The problem is that we have not yet learned one key skill, but we're going to talk about it today. And this is definitely something that you can learn now. So if that already sounds like you, if you're already feeling this far into January that, the whole year feels shot, stay tuned because we are going to work it out here today. So what is the secret? What is a skill that is going to help us get out of this pattern? We are so trained in struggle and sacrifice. The path into medical school was not an easy one. You had to maneuver your way through difficult courses like OChem and physics, be able to reach top scores, to be able to write all those perky essays, right? And then once we hit medical school, it was all about struggle. Hard classes, lots of tests, lots of professors and teachers around you who constantly wanted you to feel better. And we get so steeped in that culture that we start being that own voice in our heads, right? Who is telling us that we aren't doing well enough, that we don't have this yet, that we aren't good enough. We couple that internal dialogue with the tasks that we are faced with in medicine, pushing rocks uphill. And in today's day and age, we are also struggling with all the external metrics and validation of a consumer kind of industry, a customer service industry. So not only are we trying to fix bodies and deal with impossible schedules and stay up to date with all the latest medications and surgeries and treatments, but also we are also trying to do it with a smile on our face to get excellent performance reviews and Press Ganey scores, right? And we all have the experience of sitting in the room with the patient who maybe has been waiting months to see you, who, has their own thoughts and fears and worries, who didn't like the check-in process at the front desk, and they're bringing all that disappointment to you. What happens when hardworking perfectionist people pleasers are in that room finally with that patient who is steeped in all that disappointment? In a scramble to please, we will try and undo all of their disappointment. And we will do this by overworking, by trying to provide good care, right, which we want to do, to try and overcome the slowness and the brokenness of the healthcare system that we work in. But this constant need to overwork, to overcome these difficulties is not easy to bear. We've got the suffering that the patient is going through, but also this extra layer. And we have become so accustomed to being afraid of disappointing others through this system that we are constantly seeking to delight them. We are constantly seeking to do a great job, not only with their care, but to try and undo their disappointment with whatever happened before. Or if we can't undo the disappointment, or can't delight them, but at least trying to undo the disappointment. When we are constantly carrying this burden, there is a very real price to pay. And it comes in part by the volume and the magnitude of what we experience, but also just the difficulty of doing the work that we do. In so doing, The price we pay is that so often we are disappointing ourselves. Getting back to that new year, new you energy. You might have gone into the new year thinking, this year is going to be the year that I start exercising, or I'm going to get more sleep. I'm going to get my notes done. I'm going to practice inbox zero. And yet, right, we continue to undersleep or undermove our bodies. We will grab the sugary donuts that are stale by this time and the coffee that's cold instead of the healthy soup we packed because it's faster. We have to get back to work. We will leave our notes unfinished. We will stare numbly at the screen with an inbox full of messages that we haven't gotten help at answering. We are unable to not be disappointing ourselves when we are carrying the burdens of everything that we carry. The answer, the skill, the thing that we need to practice is going to sound counterintuitive. I want you to stay with me here. But until we learn to appreciate our own needs and learn how to delight ourselves, we're going to continue to struggle. Again, if you're saying, that sounds crazy, based on everything you just said, I see you, I hear you. I'm going to break this down into a 2x2 matrix because we are those kind of nerds. So on the left, we've got delight me and disappoint me. On the top, we've got delight others and disappoint others, right? So we've got a 2x2 matrix that is a mix of delighting and disappointing ourselves, delighting and disappointing others. Life should be a mix. Although we could all point to the boxes that we want to live in, we don't. We will sometimes not show up as our best selves, and we will sometimes show up very well and be proud of ourselves and delight others. We will sometimes have good things to bring to others. We will sometimes not have good things, right? And it's not always the things that we imagine. It can be very hard to deliver a cancer diagnosis. But you being in the room and really being present with your patient is not always a terrible thing. Anyway, I'm not going to get off on that tangent, but the problem is that when we struggle with people pleasing, we will so often find ourselves in the quadrant where we are delighting others and disappointing ourselves. We spend a lot of energy in that quadrant, a lot of our time. We will be overworking, we will be over-yesing, we will be under-resting, we will be under-ussing, right? We are not being our good, best selves. We are trying to make others happy. And that's hard. That's hard to do. It's hard to do in general. It's exhausting no matter who you are to constantly be thinking of other people's needs. It is magnified when we work in a system that is literally built off our goodwill and our desire to help people and does not provide adequate support, time, structure, resources to be able to meet the needs of the worried humans who are in front of us. We want to take excellent care of people, but we are constantly sacrificing ourselves to do it. And this is a habit that we have built up over so many years that most of us can no longer recognize what would actually be restful, what would actually be fun. We're cranky, we're numb, we're constantly seeking dopamine hits on our phone, right? We often find ourselves really stuck and not sure how to get out of it. When we're looking at this matrix and slowing ourselves down to think about it, most of the time at first, physicians are going to see only two boxes. They're going to see the box that if I delight others, I'm disappointing myself. And they're going to see the box that if I delight me, then I'm disappointing others. We've all spent time in the box where we're disappointing ourselves and we're disappointing others. That is part of life, and we will not fully avoid that box. But we're not going to live there. And most of us are spending too much time in the delighting others and disappointing myself. The dichotomy between taking care of ourselves and taking care of others feels very real. Right. And we are not used to practicing boundaries. The people that we take care of, whether that's our patients, whether that's our staff, our families, are also used to having us not have boundaries. So when we start to practice delighting ourselves and feeling like we're very much in this space where we can only see the box of delight myself and disappoint others, other people's surprise at us delighting ourselves and disappointing them will feel like disappointment. When you say no, when you start practicing having boundaries, not everyone is going to be upset, but a lot of people will be surprised. Will be surprised when you say no. They will be surprised when you can't help them with whatever it is that they want help with. Their surprise is not always disappointment. Sometimes it's just genuine surprise. But because we are so used to taking care of them and taking care of others' needs, we will often interpret their surprise as disappointment. We will have to get used to disappointing some people. Taking care of ourselves will include not being able to meet all the needs of the other humans. We can't do it anyway, but we also have to gain some comfort sitting in the discomfort. We have to acknowledge that even if we worked as hard as we can imagine possibly working, we can't possibly meet all the needs of the people around us. We can't possibly take care of all the humans that we would like to help. That's not a failing. That's just reality. There are simply too many things and too many people. We will never be able to do it all. We have to be willing to acknowledge that, to recognize that it's uncomfortable to accept that. But there isn't a way that we can get to this place where we are happy, healthy, balanced humans without doing at least some of them. When we are able to be willing to tolerate that discomfort, to be willing to start bringing ourselves some delight, it's going to be a hard thing. And that's why a lot of people don't do it. But there isn't a path to being a rested, healthy, happy human without being willing and able to say no sometimes. And sometimes you're going to have to say no to good people, good opportunities, good situations. Sometimes you're going to have to say no to other people. We won't call them bad people. We'll just call them other people. Sometimes you're going to have to be willing to say no to situations that benefit from your obedience. Some of this work is necessary, and it doesn't sound very pleasant. But when we start to practice delighting ourselves, when we start to practice taking care of our own needs, a lot of things will fall into place in a way that actually will benefit everyone. But it takes practice. And so practicing the skill of delighting yourself and being willing to tolerate the discomfort of not meeting everyone else's needs and possibly disappointing them is something that we will need to focus on. I want us to sit and think for just a minute about what practicing delight might look like. And I'm going to just read through a list here. And I want you to just think for a minute about how it would feel for any of these things. Not all of them are going to be your jam. That's okay. But I want you to see how easy it might feel to feel delight if we only are able to bring it in. Imagine a nap with a cozy blanket, a walk on a beautiful day, your favorite coffee sipped slowly while it's still warm, at least once in a while, a good hard workout, and the feeling that you get from building strength over time, being present for the laughter of a child or seeing the delight on your dog's face as it's playing fetch with you and you are just there for it. The dog is so happy. Feeling the gratitude when someone thanks us for something that we've done for them. So often we do not notice when people are saying thank you. We don't notice our patients. We don't notice our staff. We don't notice our family. If we just spent a little bit of time pausing to actually feel the gratitude coming from them and sit in it, how delightful is that? When I say delight, I'm not talking simply about pleasure like sugar or the dopamine hit you get from scrolling Instagram. I'm talking about something that really brings a smile to your face, that really starts to fill your cup. That is what we're talking about here. The good news is that when we actually start practicing delight on purpose, when we start bringing that into our lives, when we start filling our own cup and enjoying more of our time, we become the best versions of ourselves. And that gets us into that quadrant that we didn't even look at, delighting ourselves and delighting others. You aren't going to do that all of the time, of course, because again, life puts us in all of the quadrants at different times. But when we show up as the best versions of ourselves, we are amazing human beings. You are so well trained to identify and solve problems for people. You are so well trained to sit and be present with them and to acknowledge and validate them. We do great work, but we can't do great work when we are not well taken care of. And some of that taken care of will need to come from us because we will need to allow it to happen. If you work part-time, if you work full-time, if you have family at home that you take care of, or a fur baby, if you have a lot of people around you, if you have hired help, everyone's circumstances will be different. But at least some of the care and delight that you need to bring to yourself will come from you, and it will come from you being willing to accept help, to hire help, to be willing to be in the discomfort of knowing that you could do something, but allowing other people to do it instead. Sometimes that's doing something for you. Sometimes that's doing something for themselves. What a gift we give our teenage kids and younger kids when we give them the responsibility and the expectations of learning how to take care of themselves. So many women physicians that I talk to really struggle around giving their kids chores because they feel like they themselves work so hard and don't spend enough time with their kids that they feel like they ought to take care of the chores because why would they bring more hardship to their kids? That is not doing them a favor. That is a little side tangent, but it's part of the thinking that we are so steeped in. In order to feel better, in order to have happier, healthier lives, whether in medicine or outside of medicine, whether at work or at home, we are going to need to practice feeling delight. We are going to need to practice allowing ourselves to feel good, to notice and fulfill our own needs. There's no way around. As we do this work, we gain bandwidth. We will start to feel generous again. We will start to see how much more we actually accomplish when we are well taken care of. It's not rocket science, and yet it can be so hard to break out of this pattern. But I hope that we can see when we look at this matrix, when we think about how do I bring delight to myself, taking better care of ourselves is not just about pushing ourselves harder. We've been there, we've done that, and we bump up against this idea that taking care of myself means harming other people. Of course, there will be some of those instances because, again, we are dealing with a 4-quadrant matrix, right? There will be some of that. But we can't hold on to that idea that it is impossible to take care of myself because I will only disappoint others. We need to let that go. We need to accept the discomfort of other people expecting us to do things for them, and we're having to say no, that we won't be able to help all the humans. When we can do that, when we can start to practice delight, when we can start to take really good care of ourselves, I just want us to imagine what it might feel like to have more good spots like that in your day. Just for a moment, we're not going to focus on the how. We're just going to think, what would it be like to feel more pleasure, more delight, more joy, more gratitude in the middle of my day? Things will be easier in your professional life. Things will be easier in your personal life. You will feel more balanced. It takes practice. We so often feel, I just need to leave this place. And sometimes we do need to leave a job. sometimes we do need to leave a job. There are definitely toxic situations or situations that are just not right for us. That is absolutely present. There's no gaslighting here. But leaving a job, leaving a toxic place, quitting medicine, not automatically give us joy and delight. We will need to practice it. And that is the uncomfortable truth. If you do not practice it, you will not feel it. If you cannot notice and savor it, you will not be in it. This is something you can learn. You have learned so many things. You have learned so many things that are harder than this. It will take tolerating some discomfort, but we got this. You already know how to do that. So let's think about that. Let's think about what it would be like if we will allow more delight into our day. And let's think about what are the things that might just be even everyday things that I have right now where I could start to practice more delight. It could be, right, that maybe you're drinking that favorite coffee right now, but you're drinking it cold or you're drinking it rushed. And maybe you could choose that for 1 minute, you're going to slowly sip it and really enjoy it for 1 minute. Maybe, we can think about something else that, can bring us delight. Again, if you've got a dog, and I know a lot of you have a dog, taking the dog out and playing with the dog where that dog is so happy to see you. Maybe the dog is just happy to see you when you get home. And maybe you'll set down your things and get down on the floor and pet and love on your dog. If you don't have a dog, but you have a toddler, if you have somebody, something in your life who is so happy to see you, imagine putting your things down and being really present with them for just a minute. In January, in Washington, we have a lot of Daphne in bloom right now. They are my favorite flower smell. And I have a lot of favorite flower smells, but I love going out on my walk and I can smell the Daphne in the winter, and it's pretty much the only flower smell that I have around me. But I'll stop and I'll breathe it in. And that brings me a little moment of delight. There are things like that that are in your life right now. And I want you to sit down and I want you to think of 5 things that are currently in your life. And your job this week is simply to notice them and savor them. You can take 1 minute and do this, and you can do it several times a day. Sip that coffee and really enjoy it. Take a bite of your lunch and really taste the flavors. Go out for a walk and smell something beautiful like the Daphne. Hug your partner and really just feel their body and just let yourself enjoy it. Watch something really funny, like one cat video that makes you laugh. We're not going to stay on our phones and constantly scroll. We're going to watch one thing and then we're getting out. Find 5 things that are easy to get in your life right now. Practice them, notice them, savor them. The next time somebody says thank you, pause, put your hand on your heart, breathe it in. These things are simple, and yet they're not always easy for us to do. We have to practice them. But as we said at the beginning, if you start practicing the skill of delighting yourself on a regular basis, a lot of other things will fall into place. It will be easier to say no. It will be easier to set healthy limits and to get things done because you are filling your cup. Filling your cup and taking care of yourself allows you to work more effectively. It allows you to set better boundaries. It allows you to ask for help because you realize that you cannot do this all on your own and you were never meant to. So notice and savor that slow sip of coffee, the twinkling eyes of your laughing child, just giggling in delight, the sweater that is so, so soft, the walk outside and breathing in the fresh air. These are the things that I want you to notice and savor this week. I want us to practice the skill of living in more delight on a regular basis. My friends, that is what I have for you today. Until next time, take good care.
Well, that's our show for today. Thank you as always for listening. To learn more about my coaching programs, head to www.healthierforgood.com. And if you love this podcast, Please drop us a review on iTunes or support the show by clicking the link in the show notes. Until next time, take care.